Today we are talking about your superpower, and I'm going to share mine, and it's probably not what you think. Stay tuned. You are enjoying the Step Out and Thrive podcast. Hey, welcome back to the Step Out and Thrive podcast. I'm your host, Bethany B. Joy, and my passion is to make spaces for those of us who pour out, who love Jesus, who want to be in communities with him, want to lead other people to him. We know the stories of so many other people. We care well, but most of the time, if we're honest, we don't really do well caring for ourselves, and we don't have that many places where we can get poured into and we can take our hat off and just be ourselves. Well, I want to change all that. In fact, I want to help people build community where they can be poured into so that they can continue stepping out and thriving in the way that God has already made them to do. So with that being said, we're right in the middle of our Roots series. So excited that you joined us. Some of these have been some hard questions and hard moments to bring to the surface, but just like I said at the beginning, it really is kind of like a gentle checklist, so to speak, that you would go down just if you notice, things seem a little off. I wonder what could be off. And sometimes it's going to be many of these things. Sometimes it's going to be a couple. You just never know. And it's not about getting a, quote, everything's fine. It's more of just helping you, okay, what does that really feel like to be rooted? What does that really experience? What does that really look like to live that out? And that's what we're doing. Today we're talking about the greatest superpower. And that superpower is actually found in one of my biggest, which I thought was, weaknesses. I'll explain. Ever since I was little, especially with all the physical challenges, I knew that I had to show up in a better way. It was my challenge that I wanted to be better than everybody else to earn my place. Right, wrong, indifferent. That's kind of what I felt like I had to do. With all this being said, I remember there was a season in my life where I was walking into the single parent season. And in this season, I was fighting for the house for a little bit. I knew that the roof had to be replaced. There were so many different things going on. And right in the midst of all of that, I had just gotten out of the hospital. I think it was about the thing that I talked about in the previous episode, about the pacemaker thing. And I just remember with all that swirling around, out of nowhere, we had the speaker come into our church, and he started talking about this community called Luke 10. And I decided to go back and actually listen to that message, and he only mentioned it one time. And for some reason, I walked away with only thinking about that. And I remember I cornered him afterwards. I'm like, okay, you said Luke 10 is like this community where you can just show up and be yourself. I'm like, I don't think that's true. I don't buy that. What is it? What pyramid scheme is going on? And I remember him telling me, like, no, you can just sign up and you can do an intro call. And I just remember thinking, I'm like, it's a webinar. It has to be like one of those recorded webinars. I remember signing up for it. Of course, it was completely free. And I remember back then I was still driving. So I was driving back from something. And I remember it was Zoom. And I think, it was before COVID and all that kind of stuff. And so it was on Zoom, driving back, and I realized this person was like talking to me. Like it wasn't a recorded webinar. I was like, oh shoot, I need to get home. And so I got home and they just encouraged me, like, why don't you just sign up for this thing called Church 101? And it's just an experience where people just come together. You have honest, deep conversations and just see if it's, something that you want to do. And so during that conversation, I realized I really did want to do it. And so I signed up for Church 101 that was going to start the next day. And so I was like, wow. And we met like every week after that. And the specific story that I'm going to share And one of the things that they taught us how to do, and one of the things that I work with all my groups, is how to check in. And basically, to check in, I've covered this before on several different episodes, but just in case this is your first time here, when you check in, the way I teach people how to do it is to feel what's going on in your body, to name the emotion, and you can share a little bit about what's going on. This is the first time I had ever done this in a group setting. I mean, I think I've done this counseling offices or places like that, but not like with a group. And and I didn't know anybody, and nobody knew me, and nobody knew kind of one another. And it was a small group, but I just remember it. I think I asked, because I was like the first person to go, and I was like, can you like go past me and I'll go? And so I think he went to like one other person and he came back, and I said, fine, I'll share. And I just remember just kind of like spilling it. What felt like to me was like so much stuff that was going on. And I don't even remember the emotions that I checked in with that night. But I just remember feeling exhausted and scared and just sad and angry and just so many different things. And I shared a little bit about, at that time, how I was really worried. There were other things I was worried about, but the one thing on my mind was the house and trying to get the roof replaced, and would I be able to keep it, and just so many different things with that. I remember, instead of them just praying or trying to solve it, he asked a question that changed my life. And I don't say that tongue-in-cheek, because it's a question that I bring into a lot of my groups, if not all. He asked me, how can we best be with you today? And he gave me a couple choices. And it was so neat, because the one thing that I thought was going to keep everybody away actually brought them closer. And that changed everything for me. And I realized the more that I came into safe places like that, where people were okay in the uncomfortable, where they were okay not fixing, where they trusted God to do what he does best, and they're okay like not wrapping everything up with a bow. That made vulnerability into a superpower. The biggest thing I was afraid of, and being judged for, and being used against me, is now one of the biggest things that I bring into the groups that I facilitate, the groups that I coach. It really is something that has to happen over time and is built. But I'm telling you, you can find that place where you can truly be yourself. You can find people who are comfortable being in the uncomfortable with you, that are doing the work, because it takes work in order to understand what's coming up for you, and not having to trust somebody else to take care of that for you, but instead to invite people in and to invite God in and go to the foot of the cross together in all the messiness. It changes everything. And when I get to see and experience the inner circle, which is the group that I coach on a weekly basis with Step Out and Thrive, when I get to experience those moments, it's seriously like taking off my sandals and standing on holy ground. I can't explain it any other way. I feel like I get off those calls and I could run a marathon. So much energy. Nothing lights me up more than that. So my question to you is, where do you feel broken? Where do you feel is part of that story that you can't let anybody into? What's the story that you're telling yourself about that? I know you've had moments where you've let people in and been hurt. And I want you to know that I see you. And I know how hard that is, and I know how hard it is to trust people again after that. But I also want you to know that there are places out there where people are doing the deep work that they need to do in order to be with those of us who are stronger in our brokenness, because we get to see God work in amazing ways. There are places. Step Out and Thrive is one of them. And I'll even say this, if you're looking for a place to connect, and maybe you feel like Step Out and Thrive isn't the right place, I'd still like you to book some time with me so that maybe we can pray and listen around what is the right place for you. I believe everyone deserves a chance to be seen and heard and understood and be with. We all deserve to experience our greatest superpower. I know this episode's been a little different than many. I'm just noticing the way I'm standing right now is really authentic. Not that I'm not, but I really just want you to hear. I feel like somebody out there needs to hear that. That you don't have to hide. That there really are places where people like you are doing their work. You are seen. You are heard. You are loved. Love to invite you to the free community, which is at community.stepoutandthrive.com. Or you can also just go to stepoutandthrive.com and click join the community. Be a part of us there. And as always, dare to do more than just survive. Step out and thrive. See you guys back here next week. Bye. Thanks for enjoying today's Step Out and Thrive podcast, the one place that you can always count to dare to do more than just survive, to step out and thrive. As always, for more information, please check out BethanyBJoy.com or stepoutandthrive.com.